As promised, I am coming back to make some embellishments to go with the papers that we made about 2 weeks ago. Apologize for the delay on this video. I had a couple of family emergencies that happened, and I just couldn't get around to the creating of my ideas of what I wanted to do to create some embellishments to go with that paper that we created, like I said, a couple of weeks ago. All right, so what I've decided to do is that I wanted to use the gnomes, the little gnome girl, Gnomes for Autumn, this little girl, and I thought I could translate this into being a witch. And so that's kind of what you see on my table right now. I've got my gnome. I've cut out all the pieces. I've done some stamping. I've created a broom instead of the sunflower. And, I think she turned out pretty cute. Then I went ahead and I said, okay, well, what else could I do with her? And so I turned her into a hymn, and I made a wizard out of the gnome as well. And essentially I just took away the braids and changed the sunflower to a wand, and voila, there we go. I've got a wizard that we can also use on our layout if we want. Then I felt like we needed a couple of additional embellishments, and so I took the pumpkin that was part of the Gnomes from Autumn. So this pumpkin here, I took the pumpkin and I cut it out in the limeade color, and I took the nose from the Gnomes from Autumn and I created eyes, and then the little nose is one of the little hand pieces that is part of this little piece here. I made that into the nose, and I took to make these pieces here. So this could either be a bat or it could be a spider. I just cut up one of the sunflowers that was part of the Gnomes for Autumn, and I sort of tried to find where we had some spread between the petals of that sunflower, and I added that to the bottom. And then at the top and the bottom are the feet, the little feet from the gnome. So anyway, I mean, it's just kind of cute. I don't know that I'm going to use it, but I was trying to be creative in how I could maybe use some of these things to get some of these embellishments. The last embellishment is actually just using our standard circle die cuts. So I used the large circle to create this, which gave me the cauldron, and then I used the small circle to create bubbles, as well as, again, the pieces from the gnome's nose and hands to create a bubble. And then the feet at the bottom, when I cut out this semicircle, I just cut those off. I cut off edges from that to create the feet at the bottom, so using up those scraps. So I really think this cauldron will actually go really well with both the little witch as well as my wizard here. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through how I built these, and that way you can see if this is something you want to recreate yourself. So I'm going to just put these guys off to the side here, and we're going to talk about how I actually created the gnomes. So I have two examples here. We'll go ahead and talk about creating both the wizard and the witch, even though they're very similar. There's not a lot of differences between them. And then we'll go ahead and build the cauldron as well. All right, so as you can see, I've cut out a lot of pieces, lots of different pieces, because I was playing around, and what I find is easiest is if I cut out a lot of different pieces, then I can mix and match, and I can see what I like best about them. So yeah, I've got lots of hair pieces, I've got lots of the pieces for the shirt, I've got the hats, and again, a lot of different pieces for the stems. All right, to start with, we're actually going to do some stamping on the hat and the shirt. And I'm going to recreate this the same way. I'm going to use the black and the purple so black and royal, as part of my setup here. And we'll just set those aside. And the stamp I'm using to create the stars that you can kind of see, I'll move these over just a little bit more so that you can see them sort of here on the edge of my paper here. Make sure that's all good. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and use the Design Elements stamp set that's part of the current catalog. And that's this great star option stamp that's available in this Design Elements. And I love these stamp sets because they're so versatile in creating lots of different things, whether it's, you know, textures on backgrounds, like you saw me use this stamp to make the textured paper, or boards, or just swooshes, things like that. So again, this star was going to work really well. So in order for this to show up on these dark papers, there's a couple of options that you have. One, you can do embossing, meaning you can use a Versamark pad, and then you can put embossing white embossing powder on top of that, heat it, and make the stars pop. I didn't want to go through all that effort. That was a lot of effort. So what I decided to do was pull out our White Daisy pigment ink, and our White Daisy ink is going to show up on these darker papers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out the foam that's part of this stamp set. Stamping on foam will give you a cleaner impression, so it is recommended that you do use the foam base as when you're stamping, so that you can make sure you get the best impression as possible. And I have lost my scratch paper, so let me get a piece of scratch paper here. The reason I need the scratch paper is I am going to be stamping off of the edge of these pieces, and I don't want to get it on my foam. So I'm going to just put a piece of scratch paper down, and then I'm going to just make sure I lay my pieces where I have that foam resting. All right, so White Daisy ink is a pigment-based ink. So unlike our other inks that are water-based dye inks, this is a pigment-based ink, which means it does need time to set and dry, unlike our water-based inks. In addition, you could theoretically emboss on top of this because it is a big pigment-based ink. So you could stamp this, put embossing, clear embossing powder, or even white embossing powder, or any other color of embossing powder, and you could emboss using the White Daisy. So that is an option with this pad. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just set it aside and let it dry. All right, so I've put the stamp on my block, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to gently tap. Now I don't want to tap too hard, but I do want to make sure that I get enough ink on all of those stars. Now it's going to not be solid as maybe you might think of some of our other inks, and it all depends on how hard you press. I don't like to press too hard when I'm using the White Daisy ink. I like to be very gentle. And so I'm going to just rotate this to kind of get the best strategic placement of the stars. And then I'm going to gently push down. I'm not pushing too hard on this block. And then I'm going to lift. And you can see, hopefully, those stars showing up. Now there's a couple of spots where I might want to add some additional stars. So I'm going to come to one of these corners and I'm going to just ink up, say, those two stars there. I'm going to rotate my shirt and I'm going to place one more star here. And I think I need another star down here at the edge. And maybe another one right here going off. And I think that's pretty good. So again, you can go in and add additional stars. You can't really do it in the middle, So that's why you want to make sure you position it in a way where you get the best center coverage, but on the edges you can add additional stars if you want. All right, so the same thing goes for the hat. We're going to ink up the whole piece. We're going to move this hat out of the way. And we're going to do this sort of in 2 steps. And I'm just rotating it, trying to get the best coverage at the bottom of the hat. And then we'll do the same thing. And actually we may end up doing this sort of in 3 pieces here. I'm just trying to make sure I get my stars sort of in a good pattern on the hat. I think that looks good. Okay, and then we'll do the last. Again, by rotating, I get to see through the clear block where those stars are going to be. So that really does help me navigate placement. And I actually think that's pretty good coverage on the hat. I don't think I need to necessarily add any additional stars to that, but I certainly could, like on this edge over here, or maybe even on this edge over here, but I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to just set that aside. I'm going to do the same thing on the black, just so that you can see that one more time. So again, I'm going to just rotate this till I see a good placement. Ink up again, and see if I can find a good placement, kind of like that. And then one last thing on the curly Q here, like that. Whoops. Hopefully I didn't mess these up too much. Okay, so on this one, I do need a few more stars up there at the top. I didn't do a good job of placement there, so I'm going to just come in. I'm going to, again, just ink up those last 2 stars sort of at the edge there, and then I'm going to come in and place a star there. And I think we're okay. I think we're okay. All right, so just that one extra one. All right, and then we've got, again, the little shirt. So we'll come in, see if that looks good. Looks pretty good, but I need a little bit over here on this corner, so we're going to go in here, add a couple of stars there, and we have our shirt done. So really simple, not too difficult on the stamping side. Again, like I said, we do have to let that dry. It won't take too long because it's not too heavy. Make sure you clean off your stamp really well because it is a pigment ink, and it will, if you put your hand on it or anything, it will transfer pretty easily. And so you want to make sure you clean up your stamp quickly after you use your pigment-based inks. All right, so we're going to set these guys aside to dry, and we can put this away. So as I said, the next thing that I want to create is I want to show you how to create the cauldron so that you have an idea how to do that. And then when we assemble the witch and the wizard, I will show you how I made the wand and the broom. But so let's start with the cauldron. So again, I used the largest circle and I used the smallest circle to create some bubbles, but I actually did a lot of little circles that were part of the gnome, her nose and her hands. So I essentially just took all my scrap pieces of paper that I had, and I created circles out of them. You can see feet in here, but I have a whole bunch of circles. So I'm going to go ahead and take out the bigger circles are the ones that are from the circle die cut. All the little circles are all from the Gnomes die cut. So I did it in pink, I did green, and then I believe that this other color is French vanilla. It's not white, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure I did French vanilla on this. So I'm going to just take out, and I put them all in this dish because they're small and I was afraid that they would go all over the place. And I'm just trying to pull out lots of different sizes. So there's essentially 3 sizes here that I have to work with and 3 colors that I'm working with. And I just want to make sure I have a good variety for working with my cauldron. All right, so here's the circle. And essentially what I did is I just took something that was a circle. I could just overlay this as well. I could just take another one of these and overlay that. And essentially I just took a look. I decided where I wanted to place this. And then I drew a line that I could use to cut with. And that's kind of hard to see, but hopefully you can see I've got a line, and that looks about right. Looks like about the same as what I did before. And then I just cut this. That's all I did. I just cut along that line. Like so. And now I have, again, my cauldron. This one's a little bit deeper than my first one. Again, it's going to work just fine. Then what I did is, to get my feet, I just took the trying to remember how I created those. Let me just flip that over. Yeah. So essentially, because this is a little deeper, they're a little bit fatter. So I can go ahead and trim off these edges like so. And then I can play around with these feet depending on how I want them to look. So I might go ahead and go like that, and like that. Okay, so I'm going to just take some adhesive now. I'm going to put these on so that I can play around with the bubbles next. So I'm just going to put some adhesive down at the bottom here. And what I can do is then just look at where I want them to show. How much of it do I want to show? So there's that piece. And I think I'm going to cut this off just a tad bit more. I don't need quite all of that. Like so. I think I'm going to move this over just a little bit more. Like that. And I think they need to be separated just a tad bit more. Again, trying to look at this proportionately. Sorry, it might not be on camera there, but there we go. Let's see. Don't like kind of how I did that, so we're going to just do a little bit more trimming. I might change that up and do something else there. Yeah, I don't like that. We're going to cut ourselves another little piece here. Let's see if we can get that to work. I didn't trim it well. There we go. I think that one's a little bit better. Okay. So again, just taking some scraps, cutting them up to use in this piece. So the next thing, now that I've created that, is I need to do the bubbles. And so I'm going to start with when you're putting on pieces like this, you want to start with your larger pieces first, and then fill in with your next size and your smaller size. So to start with, I'm going to just put adhesive here on the back, and I'm going to start placing these circles at random heights in my cauldron. And I can do 3, might do 3 like that, okay? And then I'm going to start adding in these smaller circles. So I'm going to stay away from the green to start with. I'm going to start using some of the pinks and some of the French vanillas here, just seeing if I've got some of these stuck together, because that feels like it's thick. So grab some of these. And then I'm going to start adding adhesive to these guys. And again, you can see I'm working on my all-purpose mat so that I can just rub that adhesive off. So we're going to just put some adhesive there. And we're going to stick these at various different levels. And I'm just trying to get an interesting pattern on these, right? I just want to seem like there's lots of different bubbles, lots of things happening in this bubbling cauldron. So again, okay, we're going to put some more some more of these lighter ones in. And the reason I made so many is I wasn't sure how many I would need, right? So again, just by, I literally just used up the scraps from my cutting of my gnome, and I just took those scraps and I just started creating a bunch of circles from those scraps. So just using up what I had left over from cutting out other pieces. So again, just adding those. Okay, and so now we're going to move to our smaller pieces. So pulling out the little hand pieces, and we're going to add a few of those in here as well. Just like that. Just finding a couple of spots to put it in. Then we can have the cauldron overflowing here in a second. So trying to do on top and on bottom. And like so. And I think I want another little white one here. Okay, I'm gonna stick that. Oops, wrong way. Okay, so we're gonna do that like that. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Then I'm gonna come down this side. So on this one I came down the right side. On this one I'm gonna come down the left side. And I'm only gonna use the mid size and the small size in doing the bubbles down the side. I don't want any of those big ones. So I'm gonna just pull out some of the mid size, and then we have a couple of these small ones left. And so I'm going to again put some adhesive here down the side of the cauldron. Might be out. No, I'm not. Feels like I was out. All right, so then I'm going to, again, kind of look at placement. I want to show that it's kind of coming off of this cauldron. Like so. Maybe do a pink one here. Like that. And then I'm going to start filling in with some of the little guys. and I might come back and put another big guy on there. As well. And let's see, get a couple more little guys out. They're tough to get out. They're little. They not getting enough adhesive there. I want to get a little bit more. Okay. Oops. Did I lose it? Oh no, there it went. Oops, that didn't stick. We need some more adhesive down here. There we go. Grab another one of these guys. I think I need some more of the lighter color, not just the pink, but we'll see here. Trying to slip that underneath there a little bit like that. Yeah, I think, see if I've got any of the lighter colors. I think I need a couple more of those in here. Again, these little, just having a little dish to put all these little pieces in so that you can not lose them is very helpful. Okay, so we'll do this. Actually, flip that guy over. No, that side. I actually think I want another green one in here too. Let's do that, because I feel like we've got too much of one color. So we're actually gonna shift this a little bit. We're going to take another green one. Put that there. Put that there. Actually, we're going to do a white one. All right, almost done. Almost done with this guy. And then we'll put the pink guy back on there. Okay, probably need a little bit more adhesive. All right. So that's our bubbling over cauldron. The last step on this is to take a gel pen and to create some highlights. So I'm going to do most of my highlights on the green, because it's going to show up the best on the green. And again, I'm just taking the gel pen and sort of creating this little white line on some of these green pieces so that it looks like it's reflecting off of things. You can do it on the pink. It just doesn't quite show as much, but I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit there and just create some of these highlights here. And then I'm also going to do some highlights on the actual cauldron itself. So I'm going to come at the bottom here with the gel pen, and then I'm going to come up here at the top. Just to create some definition, and then I'm going to go ahead down here on the feet and add a little bit there. So it's not a lot, but it does really kind of bring out the bubbles and separation and creating some movement or look of movement on this cauldron. Okay. So there's our second cauldron, all done. So the last little guy, and like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to use him or not. I haven't quite decided, but I wanted to show you how I made him anyway. So I actually, again, took the pumpkin die cut from the Gnomes for Autumn scrapbooking, and I cut it out in the new limeade. So this is limeade. And then I have the sunflower from the Gnomes from Autumn. And then I have the feet from the Gnomes from Autumn. And the eyes and the nose came again from the eyes and the nose and the hands for Gnomes from Autumn. Again, just kind of playing around. That's all I was doing. I was playing around, seeing what I could create just using the Gnomes from Autumn stamp set, or thin cuts, and using some of these stamp sets that are part of this catalog. So I didn't cut this with the curly Q, the stem on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of round this out here a little bit and round off kind of these corners a little bit more, so that it's not really flat, but is not quite looking exactly like a pumpkin. Okay. And then what I did is I looked at sort of where I could cut this to create some wings and or legs, just sort of depending on how you looked at it. And I cut it kind of in half here. And then I just sort of looked at which sections of these I wanted to take. So I took, I think, like these 4 or 5, and I cut that. And then I took, again, 4 or 5 here. Turn that just a little bit more. And I essentially just put them on the back and played around with them. I just put some adhesive on the back, and then I took the pieces and so this one's a little bit too big. I've got too much on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it down because I did 5 instead of 4. And since I did 4 on the other side, I don't want it to be too heavy. And that looks like it's a little bit heavy on one side, so let's switch this out and take this other piece that was left. And I think that looks a little bit better. And there we go, we've got that. So the eyes, I just took 2 of the noses and I put them down on the front. Like so. And then the nose is just one of the pink little hands. Again, Gnomes from Autumn is just the pink little hands. And I look off kilter there. Let's adjust our eyes just a bit more. Again, I've got them touching, but you can set them up any way you want. So put the little nose there. And then for the irises, I actually took the inside of the stem. This little piece here, that when you cut it out, this one's got one in it. I just took this little piece and I added that as the iris. So I took that little piece and gave it the iris. Now this is little, and I'll go ahead and do two of this color just to show you. So again, I'm just taking that center out of the stem there, and I'm going to just put a little bit of adhesive on my project. Little bit of adhesive there. And then I'm going to use my pickup tool. I'm actually going to flip this over, make sure I've got the right side. And then I'm going to place that right there. Okay, so there this little guy is right now. The mouth, I just took my pen. You can take any pen. I have a little La pen, and I actually, my black one is not here. Let's see, that was my brown one. Okay, I'll go ahead and use the brown. You know, I did a little ooh sound, but you could do a smile as well. You could do an O. You could make a little O sound or O shape like that. And there you go. All right, so the last step are the tops and bottoms. And so again, this is just using the feet from the Gnomes for Autumn. I'm going to go ahead and just put some adhesive down here at the top and at the bottom to stick this to. And really this is just about placement and how much you want to have showing. So like that, and like that. And there is our little spider or bat, however you want to call it, whatever you want to do. All right. So we have our cauldron, we have our bat or spider, and now we're going to build our little gnome because our pieces should be dry now. So I'm going to just put these back in the container for the moment so that I don't have them everywhere. Okay, so here we go, just so that you can kind of see those sitting up there. Okay, so let's bring in our bases to make our little girl and our little boy. Okay, so what I did is I cut these out. This one I cut out on a full sheet. This one I cut out on a partial sheet that I had. And I am going to actually trim up this piece here and just cut it off. Okay, because we don't need that little curly Q on this. So we're going to get rid of that. On the one that's got the full, I am going to go ahead and trim up and take off the flower. So we're going to take that and just trim this guy off. And we can save that for something else. And again, we're going to take the curly Q off because we don't need that. Okay, so now we've got our base, our two bases ready to go. And now we can bring in our hats as well as our shirts. And I'm going to just decide which way I want to go with which color way. Yeah, I think I like this better. It's not quite as stark. All right. And again, now it's just assembly. So you just have to decide which one's your girl, which one's your boy. I'm going to stick with the girl being in the purple and the boy being in the black. And we're going to put our pieces together and assemble it. So it's just getting some adhesive on here and doing the assembly. Nice thing is it's like paper piecing. So if you ever did paper piecing as a little girl or a little boy making paper dolls, it's a lot like that. So we'll put the shirt on. Okay, so we've got that. Oops. Try and get it lined up well. Okay, and then let's do this one. kind of do them at the same time, all the pieces and parts. So I'd love to know your thoughts about my little creations here. If you like the idea, again, tried to twist these a little bit, use them maybe in ways that you didn't think about using the gnomes. That gives you ideas about how you can take some of your other stamps or your other dies and create using them to create something different or seeing something unique. Like even when I was looking at this one, I was looking at this pie cutout. I thought, oh, that'd be a cute hat on top. So maybe if I didn't want, if I had something else, I could put a cute hat. I even thought about putting a hat on the little spider, whatever we want to call this. I didn't think it worked, but I thought, oh, but that looks like a hat. That could go on top of something, right? So, you know, taking a look and maybe not being so literal with what you're seeing, especially on the die cuts, and can you make them into something different than what you might have. All right, so the next piece we're going to add is we're going to add in both the wand and the broom. And so we're going to, again, take the pieces that are the stems. I'm going to actually cut off the curlicue again on this one. And in this case, I'm actually going to use some leftover paper that I have. And I'm going to just create my own little broom, essentially. So I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to use both sides. So I'm going to actually cut 2 pieces, and we're going to layer them together. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just cut that because I tore that. We're going to just make a bunch of cuts, little cuts. And I'm going pretty far down, and I'm not really paying attention to how my placement, I'm just randomly cutting to create the broom-like texture. And then on this one, I'm going to do the same thing. Very similar. And then I'm going to layer them on top of each other, right? And then we're going to do some trimming and some coloring. So we're going to go ahead and get some adhesive on this. I'm going to offset them. Again, I've got the, make sure I've got the right sides. I've got the dark side and the light side of this paper, and I'm going to go ahead and just sort of offset them a little bit so that you see those top pieces. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some trimming. So I'm going to just go into a few of these, and I'm going to change the height of them. I'm going to cut off some so that it's not quite so even, right? I don't want it to be so even. It looks too funky like that. So again, I'm just coming in and I'm randomly trimming so that it looks a little bit more uneven, like so. Okay, and again, I'm going to sort of, play with these guys, bend them, get them moving in different directions. The next thing that I did is I went ahead and I took our acorn ink and I inked this up. So just took a little bit of ink. Again, I'm going to get my paper out, and I'm just coming in and distressing this a little bit. Because I don't want it to look quite so neat and clean. Not quite getting as much on there as I want. And I'm going to do the edges as well. So I want to rough up those edges. So in this case, I think I'm going to just go into my ink pad there and just do some ink. So again, just trying to make it look a little less clean, make it look like a dirty broom. And then I'm going to actually trim this up. So I'm going to even this out, and then I'm going to try and get it sort of in the shape of a broom. Now, don't worry if it's not beautiful. Again, just trying to kind of get a general shape of a broom here. Oops. Okay, well, then we're going to add it to our, do just a little bit more like that. So we're going to add it to the top of our stem. And then the last thing we're going to, oops, wrong way. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of shimmer trim. And this is going to be sort of that transition from the base of the broom and the stick. So I just took a little bit of gold shimmer trim, and we're just going to wrap it around this base. I think I want it up a little bit higher than that. Wrap it around the base. So just trying to get that to stick down, just like that. Okay, and now we have our little broom. Okay, so then we're going to attach it to our gnome. Here, so just getting adhesive on that. I'm going to add it here, like so. And then we can put on her braids, and we can put on her hands and feet and so forth. So again, I've got a number of different colors that I can work with, and I can decide what I want to do with her. So maybe I might give her black braids, or do I want to do dark brown? Maybe I'll do dark. I don't know if I want the gold again. No, I don't want the gold. Oh no, kind of liking the black. I think we're going to go with black. We're going to go with the black braids. So we're just going to attach these next. There is a right and a left on the braids, so the flat side is going to go up against the hat. So you want to go ahead and make sure that you get that aligned right, so that you have the right braid on the right side and the left braid on the left side. So let's see here. There's, oh, I already had it out. Here's my left one. And we're going to add that here. All right. So now it's again back to the nose and nose and hands. So I'm going to pick out the pink here. Do I want pink, or do I want the tan? Maybe I'll do the tan this time, since I've got pink on the other one. So I'm going to pull out the tan color. Can't remember if this is almond or what color this was. Like I said, I was using a lot of scraps for what I had, so I don't remember exactly what colors I pulled. Okay, so this one, I'm going to go ahead and start with putting the nose on. And we'll just slide that right up there. And then the hand that has the little cutout, the bigger hand, is going to go on the where the broom is. And that little notch is intended to show the hand holding the broom. So the notch goes at the top. So hopefully if I hold this up, you guys can see that this notch is supposed to look like it's holding the broom, right? So that's how that little hand goes. And then on the other side, it does have an orientation where the pointiest part goes out, I believe. Yeah, the pointiest part goes out. So again, just to show that. And then we have our feet. And I'm actually going to give her black feet. I have purple feet on my sample that I stamped. I didn't really like it. I mean, it's okay. It doesn't bother me that much, but I decided that I actually like the idea of her having black shoes on as a witch. And so I'm going to put black shoes on her. Like so. And then I'm going to take my white gel pen again, and I'm going to just do some lines on each side, pretending like they're laces. Like that. And there is our little witch. Okay, so this was our first one, and that was our second one. On this one, I did use some of our colored pencils from the Perfect Portrait to add some texture to her braids because it felt kind of flat. But that's it. That's all I did there. All right, so let's put our little guy together, our little wizard together now. And it's the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and come in, and I'm going to grab, I wonder if I should do the pink on this one. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do, the pink on this one. So again, going back into my little case, finding all my little pink pieces. Hopefully I have enough pink pieces. Looks like I might be missing a hand. Pull them out of my hand and see if I can find the little hand piece that I'm looking for. I might have used them all up on my cauldron. Not seeing, oh, there's a pink hand. There we go. That's the one I want. Okay. Those can go back in there. All right. So for the wand, I actually thought the craft paper worked the best because it has some, so if you compare it to, say, the regular paper, there's not a lot of texture there, but the craft has a little bit of texture going on, and I thought that I liked the idea of having the wand be a little bit more natural looking, and the craft paper kind of gave me that feeling. So we're going to go ahead and cut that again. And we're going to trim this up, but to start with, we're just going to start with it like this. And I'm going to take some silver shimmer trim, and we're going to attach it to the top of the wand. And then once we get it on, we will trim it up. So the hardest thing about shimmer trim, especially when you're using a small piece like this, is getting your nail underneath the backing to take it off. So, and then it sticks to everything. So then I'm going to just put this on my wand tip here. And then we're going to fold it over. And we're going to center that a little bit better. There we go. And we're going to just fold it over on each side. that. Give it a good press. And then we're actually just going to trim it up. We're going to just take it at an angle and create a little point. So hopefully you can see that. Then we're going to adhere it to our base. Like that. And that's too long for the for a wand. So what I did is I just came in here and I just kind of gauged how far I wanted it and just trimmed it up. I felt like that was a better length for the wand. All right, so let's put the nose and the hands on now. Again, remember the hand with the notch goes where the wand is. And it might be a little bit easier to see on this one, kind of how that works. And then we've got the hand over here. Now remember, this one's a little boy, so we're not going to put the braids on this one. But we do have the braid spaces. Just trying to get this so it works right here. But we still have the braids showing. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to trim up right there. Trim up on this side. And then we also have to cut away this little bit right here, which was also where the braids were sitting on the little girl. So just a little bit of surgery there to make that work. Okay, so we've got that one all done. Now we need some shoes. And so we could choose to put purple shoes on. We could choose to put the black shoes on. Let's just take a look and decide which way we want to go. Those are the purple. I think I'm going to stick with the black. Just like that. We'll add those, and we are almost done. Just have to do the little lines on the shoes. And we have completed all of our little embellishments that we are going to use for the layout. I didn't shift that enough. Hold on. Okay, so again, I'm going to just come in here and do some lines for the shoes. Okay, so these are all the embellishments that I'm going to use on the layout, which is going to be the third video in this series, and I have picked out the layout that I'm going to use, and I have picked out the number of pictures that I'm going to use, etc. So again, 2 little witches, 2 little wizards, a couple of pots of bubbling over cauldrons. So hopefully that's gives you some ideas. Again, the things that I used were the circles, the Gnome for Autumn scrapbooking set, the Gnomes for Autumn thin cuts, and the last thing was the design elements using the stars from that. And I will see you on the next video. If you like this video or if you have any questions, please feel free to make a comment down below. If you like it, hit the like button for me. That's always helpful. And if you want, feel free to subscribe. We have a few new subscribers to my channel, and I thank you guys for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.